greetings. I bring you love and light, and welcome to another enlightening episode of Elevate Your Life. Of course, I am your host, Dr. Michelle Odette Green, and we have a wonderful show for you today. We have our guest, Cindy Gould, here. Hi, Cindy. Good
Hello.
morning, good morning, good morning. Wherever you are, if it's afternoon, good evening, hello. Today, folks, is going to be again another wonderful show, very enlightening. We're going to dive into the fascinating world of vibrations and how they shape our reality. I got a question for you. Have you ever wondered why some days you are on cloud nine while others you feel like it's a struggle? It's just a struggle to make it through the day. It's all about the frequency you are tuned into. And my guest, Miss Cindy Gold, she is an expert in that. And we're going to be talking about how your thoughts and how your feelings and how your actions really create your experiences. And Cindy, I'm going to tell our audience a little bit about you. And once I finish, you are welcome to add to it. Cindy is the founder of Cindy Gold International, and she is her own TV host for Create Your Victorious Life show. She is a joy catalyst. She does so much. She is inspirational, especially to me and those who have the privilege of working with her. She's also instrumental in the Neural Encoding Institute, and she is one of the founding members of the Brain Health Revolution. And also, she's a part of the John Maxwell team. So, I want you guys to get ready for this wonderful show. And by getting ready, that means you want to get something to write with, such as your journal. Got my Elevate Your Life journal right here. You want to make sure that you have a pen, something to write with, and of course, share this with your family and friends. Sharing is caring. And one last housekeeping thing that I must tell you, and Cindy, I'll turn it over to you after that. This show is offered through Zingo TV. And the Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV, is found on channels 250 and 251, and you can download the Zingo TV app on your respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. And while you download that app, make sure to rate us and leave us a stellar comment. And Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. And now, Miss Cindy Go, I want to turn it over to you for anything that I may have missed during that introduction.
Oh my goodness.
Oh
Thank
my
you. Thank you.
goodness. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. What a privilege and an honor to be here. It's been a minute since I've been on the show. So I'm so excited to be here, Michelle. And the only thing that I would say actually is just that I am a mama of six and I have 9 grands. And so for me, yeah. And so, that is pretty awesome for me. So other than that, thank you so much for my beautiful introduction.
Yes, so awesome, so awesome. And I'm so glad that you are back with us. You're one of my favorites. And so I love having you on the show. Thank you. You know, Cindy, she believes that we all have a divine purpose on this in this world, I should say, on this earth. And so I love that about you, asking people, okay, you have a divine purpose on this earth, and what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And so I'm going to jump into my questions. Folks, I have pages of questions for Miss Cindy because she is such a gem. And I want to start with really understanding vibration. So,
Yeah.
what is vibration in the context of personal growth and spirituality? And let me say this really quick before you answer that question. We share the love of Christ. And so we are we are Christians. And so I wanted to throw that spirituality piece in there because that's so significant to me. And so now I want to turn that over to you.
Yeah. So, here's first of all, I'm going to go back to the purpose piece because I believe when you figure out who you are And while you're here, all you got left to do is figure out what you're going to do about it. Right.
Yes.
And because of what we know and being um, not only believers in and of Christ, of the Christ, but also being his siblings and also being our Heavenly Father's daughters. I mean, there's a special, it's kind of like, with Kenyelle, with your daughter, or with my children, Olivia or Nicholas or Mona, or my grands, any of them, Jessica. Um, there's a special frequency that you feel, there's a vibration you feel when you think of your child, right? When you think of your husband, when you think of Paisley, who just turned 5, or when you think of, right, your family members. So here's what's interesting. And so thank you for opening the door with Jesus, because when he was here, he gathered everybody, his disciples together. And what did he say? He said, okay, guys, check it out. I'm going to go be with our Father. I'm going to hook you up. I'll be up there and we're going to create your mansions and your this and your that. And I'm going to leave you with this comforter, the Holy Spirit, and he will lead you into all truth. All you got to do is believe. And what do you have to believe? You have to believe that everything that I've done, from raising stinky old Lazarus from the dead, from helping that 12-year-old, from the woman with the issue of blood, from the blind to see, from the fig tree to die, everything that I've done, you can do that and more,
Yeah.
because I left you this comforter who will tell you and lead you into how to do it. All you have to do is believe. Now, what does that mean? Like, how do we do that, right? Like, because when you have more month than money, right? And it's back to school time and you can't even pay your electric bill yet. I'm not being critical. I've been there, and all of that. How do you believe that you're going to go fishing like the guys did when they had to pay their taxes and there was a coin in the fish's mouth? Like, go, right? Or when you've been fishing all night, and as an example, so you've been out job hunting, you've been, doing all these things, or you've been doing all the healthy things and you still have that report, and you've been fishing all night like the guys who were seasoned professional fishermen, and he says, cast those nets out again, right? They had to connect to the frequency that he was speaking from. And that's really what it boils down to. Their thoughts had to be in alignment with his thoughts and heart. Now, if you don't believe in Jesus or anything like that, so how do you make that a practical thing? And how do you make that practical in somebody's world now? It's just like having your remote. I mean, on many of the major channels, we have the Olympics playing. If you don't want to watch the Olympics and you want to watch Bobby Flay and compete in a food thing, you point the remote and you click and you change it to the Food Network, right? And it's a frequency that lines up with your TV that says change the channel. It's that simple, not easy sometimes because of our neurons, which you and I are both brain health coaches, so we can touch on that if you want. But the neurons that fire together wire together. So if you've been pointing and clicking in the wrong direction, because your thoughts, right? As we think, so we feel. As we feel, so we do. As we do, so we have, right? So what you have is not what you want, then you better start pointing your remote in a different direction. And we could, and I mean, me, this is like one of my favorite subjects, because it's really everything we want is in that field. Everything that we want and need. And what were we promised though? It was in Psalms, 37, where the Lord says, look, just delight in me and I will give you the desires of your heart.
Yes.
He doesn't say,
Yes.
I'm just going to feed you and give you the crumbs. He says, I'll give you the desires of your heart, right? Again,
Yes.
with that frequency. Go ahead, Sissy.
Ooh, no, that was so good. You can keep going. I don't have to jump in. If you're inviting me to jump back in, I'm coming in. I'm up to that. So I loved everything about what you said. And so how can we measure or become aware of our own personal vibration?
Oh, golly. You know what? For me, This is like a simple thing. The way that I'm aware of it is, what do I have going on in my life? What do I have? What's my outcomes? What's happening? What, when I'm interacting with people, when I'm walking through the store, and am I connecting? Are people looking at me and smiling? Do I have favor? Are people bending over backwards to be helpful, right? Or am I, getting the guy waving at me with his finger driving down the highway? Or, or do I have grumpy people, and then I'm on the phone, and are my children, being grumpy with me? Or, are my clients not showing up, or are they late, or whatever? I mean, that is how I know. So one of the things that I do every day is, I first and foremost, I have my own process in the morning, and I connect. Because how are you able to use your remote? You have to turn your TV on, right? You have to turn
Yeah.
those things on. So when I awaken in the morning, I connect it all. And the way that I connect to the frequency of joy, because joy is my jam. And to me, when you are living in joy, you're victorious all the time. It doesn't matter what happens. Even if cruddy things happen, you still have a level of victory, which gives you a solution oriented spirit, right? So
Yes.
in order to connect to that, to joy, I start my very essence, the moment before I even open my eyes, with connecting with gratitude. And that's how you do it, and to get the results that you really, really want. And so, to your point, or to your question, I start with, I am so thankful and grateful that and fill in the blank. And it
Mhm.
and I start with three things that I from my past, three things from my present, and three things that I want to bring magnetize in from my future. However I see it is already done right now. Like, it's done. It's already done. I'm sitting in that home. I'm sitting with that beautiful husband. I'm doing those things. I'm speaking on that stage, and sharing my heart with these beautiful people. Whatever it is that and for some of you, it may be, I'm so grateful and thankful that I have cheerful children this morning that aren't looking for their shoes, that aren't going to make me late for work, that aren't, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that so, so much. And I find gratitude, that's one thing that I talk about all the time. It is an attitude that will help you stay in a high vibration. And so I love that you start with that. That is so good. And I do something similar as well. When I wake up, I'm thinking, my thoughts are positive, my thoughts are optimistic, and I'm thinking about today is going to be a great day. And I ask that important question, how is today going to be a great day? And my answer comes back, because this is the day that the Lord has made, and I can handle anything within this day because I know that the Lord is out to support me. So that is a way that I start as well. And I have a whole routine or ritual that I go through every single morning that helps ground me and helps me think about moving forward in a high vibration. And so that brings me to the power of thought. Since we're talking about gratitude, we're talking about our morning routines, how we get up in the morning, just how do our thoughts create our reality. Can you elaborate on the concept of that, as well as I want to throw in manifestation? So I'll turn it back over to you.
You know, so the thoughts part is, as we said a few minutes ago, as I think, so I feel. When you're Here's something that a lot of people don't know, and I know you know this, but I remember, golly, it was years ago. I was at an isogenics conference, and I went because I love isogenics, but I knew that Tony Robbins was speaking. And when he was there, and this was years ago, like years and years, and he said, And he talked about the Heart Math Institute and said that in your heart, there's a physical brain, that there's a physical brain, like an organ, physical brain that's in your heart. And so that scripture, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Instantly, it always made sense to me, but I would mush up the heart and the mind. I mean, I would, that, right? Not realizing that there's two places that you better align your thinking. And so here's what's interesting. Back to the remote analogy. You don't point the remote saying, "Oh, I'll type in channel 34 and I'll watch reruns of Blue Bloods," hoping that you're going to end up watching, Chip and JoJo building a house. You don't do that. You literally point it and say, "I'm going to watch Blue Bloods. This is the channel." It's the same thing with your thoughts. If you have a thought, um, that you have a goal, whatever your goal is, and let's just say, let's use physical stuff. So let's say that your goal is, I'm going to release 10 pounds, by the fall. Let's just say it's that. And you're thinking, okay, there's no freaking way. Or you walk into your kitchen and your husband's making pancakes and all the goods, all the yum. And your thought is, okay, I'll start tomorrow. You just hijacked your thought, right? Of, I'm going to release that weight. But if you were to release that weight, and as I think, and you anchor it with your feeling of, you see yourself smoking hot, you see those cute clothes, you see the fact that you're not laying down hurting your fingers trying to zip those freaking jeans up, you see that, you see the look on your husband's face when you walk out in that dress that he loves, that you went to dinner in 10 years ago and now you've got it on again. Whatever that is, you anchor and you celebrate that feeling, right? That of success with whatever it is you're thinking. And every single time something comes up like, I'll never make it, I've done this before, there's no way. Or you're on your way to the gym and you pass Dunkin' Donuts and you take a beeline instead of going to the gym, then you know you got a disconnect here. So what I
Mhm.
do is I think the thought and I celebrate the win. So
Yes.
you know that because I know you do these things, but I think the thought, and then I see myself winning whatever that is that I'm doing, even if it's, again, back to having more month than money. You don't have to worry about the how God's going to get it to you or how that's going to happen. Or, I mean, it could be your Aunt Sally thinks, is God puts on her heart, oh my goodness, I need to send my sweet Michelle some 500 bucks. And then you get this check in the mail or you get a Zelle, sent to you, like, what's this for? Oh, I just had it on my heart to send it to you. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Because these thoughts, when they align with this feeling, it's like that's your believability, right? And then from there,
Yeah.
as I think, so I feel, as I feel, so I do. When you feel certain things and you're celebrating that 10 pounds, you don't even notice Dunkin' Donuts on the way to the gym, right? You don't see that because you're already doing it, and then you're going to have whatever it is that you're aligning with, whatever that is.
Oh, that was so good. That was so good. I love that. And just bringing up the heart aspect of it because it's so true. When you are feeling, and if your results are not in alignment with what you're feeling, you got to check that heart, you got to check that feeling, and you get the opportunity to change it. You get the opportunity to choose a new feeling, a new thought. And I love that about how we are wired and how God blessed us, because we get to determine what we think about.
That's right.
Yes, we've been programmed from an early age. And so we do have those automatic thoughts that come up, whether they are negative or they are positive. And we have an opportunity to condition ourselves through the tools that you are describing. And that's what I love. I remember when I realized that I had choices in life, and that opened up my thinking, because I realized, okay, I get to choose if I go left or if I go right. If I'm at that fork in the road, I get to choose which way I go. And then, moreover, when I really got the concept that I get to choose what I think, I don't have to let somebody else think for me. I get to choose what I think. And from there, when I'm having those thoughts that are not productive thoughts or not resourceful thoughts, I have the mindset that, oh, I get to change that channel like you've been talking about. I get to take the remote and change that channel. And so just talking about that manifesting piece of it. Recently, I want to bring this out because it's so dynamic to me. So for two 2 months here recently within the last 3 months. So we're gonna work on this. We're gonna work on this month too. So I have been just really feeling into and just thinking about manifesting funds, manifesting money without me having to physically work for it. Now, I don't want people to think that you can just get it right away, because I don't want to leave anybody with that impression and then they start thinking like I'm thinking and then it's not showing up for them. But we'll talk about that as well. So in two cases, one, it was a significant sum, and then this here recently, I'm on the phone, I'm talking to my daughter. I'm have the last few days prior to this phone call, oh, I'm just feeling good. I'm like, oh, I feel like $1 million. I want to bottle this feeling up and I just want to sell it. It's like that frequency. It's like I was flying high. It was like all the happy neurochemicals were just there, and I'm just like feeling good. And I'm on the phone talking to my daughter, and I get a phone call, and I tell her, oh, hold on. And it's someone calling me, telling me that I have a check or have a fund sitting, and they tell me that I can come pick up this money. And I'm like, huh? What? I'm like, I do? And
Yeah.
so guess what? I went and picked up that money. I went and picked up
Amen.
that money, and it wasn't just pennies, okay? And I'm like, I had been thinking about that, and this affirmation or mantra that I have been saying is that money comes to me easily and effortlessly from known and unknown sources on a continuous basis in ever increasing quantities. I'm working to get that out. And I want you to know it showed up for me. And I physically, the work that I did was continue to put that energy out, continue to stay on that high vibration, continue to believe and not have a counter intention that it's not going to happen. Because what we can do when things don't come to us is because we are we're using words of unbelief, or we
Yeah.
have a counter intention that's showing up, and we don't even realize that that's what's happening, and we're putting the brakes or the pause on what we are desiring. And so I just wanted to talk about that, and now I want to continue with the power of thought and ask you, what are some common negative thought patterns that can lower a person's vibration?
Yeah. Golly, I'll tell you the lowest one is shame.
Mm,
Shame, inauthenticity, dishonoring yourself, keeping your mouth shut when you shouldn't. And I say shouldn't on purpose. Not speaking up for yourself, not loving yourself. Those are like your lowest. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. But you shared something and it reminded me of a story. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to the manifestation thing for a sec. Because that's
yes.
like, and if you want to figure out how to do this, manifest a parking place at Walmart first. Like, I'm serious. That's like easy manifestation 101. You
Right.
connect, you see it, you see that space right there in the front because you don't want to walk in 112 degrees from way back at the end all the way. You'll be sweating buckets by the time you get there. You have to buy a new outfit just to and go change in the bathroom while you're there. But if you do that, but I have an experience, and I have bazillions of experiences. To be honest, I'm so grateful, and I feel so so very blessed and highly favored, right? But here's my the experience that I had in a few years ago. There was I needed a balloon payment for something, and I don't recommend that. It just happened to be like that, and it was actually $11,860, and I had 2 weeks, and I had none of that, none of it, and so I connected and prayed. First of all, I saw it as already done. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sweat about it. It's going to be here. And you think $12,000 basically. Where the heck is that coming from, right? And I just thought it's happening. It's happening, and I just kept connecting. And so what I did is I just prayed into it and said, okay, Lord, how do I partner? What do I need to do? Is there anything that I need to do beyond my belief that because sometimes yes, what do you have to do? You have to physically grab the remote, you have to turn the TV on, you have to point and click. There's steps, right, to make that happen, to bring up your speaker with Alexa or whatever. I don't know that girl Alexa, so I don't do that, but she is not my friend. But whatever that is that you have to do. So what I heard to do in my spirit, and I knew to do this, and it was really funny, was it was like so into somebody's life that needs something similar, not 12 grand obviously, but so into somebody's life. And this is where manifestation and frequency and vibration, all that gets really fun, because when you're that connected, you get to use it also to serve others, not just for I need this, I need that, whatever, I want a good a day, or all of that. It's all of that, and that bag of Doritos that goes with it. So here's what happened. And then I heard, which was funny and interesting in my spirit, update a record with your current address and all that. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, we're talking a record from like 15 years ago that I have pretty much nothing to do with anymore. And it was something on mine. So I did. I said, fine. I will tell you this, Michelle, and this was the coolest thing ever. I it was about 4 days before it was needed, and I needed, I went to the mail and just went and got my mailbox, and I'm looking for something really quick because it was so profound. And in that mailbox, check this out, was was a check, I'm not kidding, for roughly 12,000 something dollars. And here's what's so funny. It was from somebody who owed me money for 17 years and couldn't
Oh
find
my God.
find me. And not only did they find me, there was this, thing, and then I get this check and I'm just staring at it like, what is this? Are you kidding me right now? And I'm looking at this check and I'm like, not only was there enough for the thing that was due, I had more than enough to pay tithing on it. And I was like, no way, right? But what was it? And it wasn't, yay, Cindy, you're so whatever. No, it was because I walked through a really solid process that I knew that worked, right? And my belief never wavered, ever. 4 days before it's due. And we didn't have back then Zelle and all that stuff. I had to literally like run to the bank, get a certified check, FedEx it, overnight it to make sure that it all showed up on time. But it did.
It did. Oh my goodness. That is so good. That is so good. I love that story. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us, because you really gave the evidence that it actually works. It actually works when you stay in that high vibration, in that coherence, that head and
Yeah.
heart coherence, if you will, and believe.
Yeah.
Believe you didn't waver from that belief. And what's more about it, you released it, you let it go, you didn't stay in the tension of it, you let it go. And that's how things come to us. Yes, we give it intention. We give it our intention through our actions, and then we have no tension around it. We just
Right.
believe that it's going to happen, that it's going to manifest, and it has a way of showing up, and it's miraculous. And
Mhm.
you gotta know that when that happens, you gotta be grateful and thankful and
Oh,
prayerful, and knowing that if it happened once, it
yeah.
can happen again. And when you talked about gratitude earlier, in
Mhm.
terms of your practice, in terms of the past, the
Mhm.
present, and the future, really, when you are practicing gratitude, as you mentioned, being in the relationship and just all the things that you mentioned, you're actually saying it is done. It is done. It is done. You're being grateful and appreciative for it. And what you appreciates what you give your attention to and focus to, that actually grows. And believe it or not, you become this magnetic, it's this ball of energy in your field. You're magnetic to whatever it is that you're focusing in on, and then it just starts gravitating to you. And the people and the places and the circumstances just start showing up. And it's a real thing, my folks. It's a real thing. So I hope that you are taking copious notes, because this works. It's real. We have the evidence, we have the receipts, as the young people like to say. And so, with that in mind, I do want to touch on more of the importance of the actions. We've already talked about, physically changing the channel, i.e., your thoughts,
Right.
physically doing something. We've already talked about physically. See, we talk about hard skills and soft skills. And so your thinking is more of a soft skill. It's something that you don't see physically. You see results in your life that demonstrate what you've been thinking. When you want to know what you're really thinking about, and your frequency, like you mentioned already, is that you're looking at what's happening around you. The
Yeah.
results. What results are you getting? Are people smiling back at you? Are people frowning at you? Are people pointing that finger at you? What are you receiving, and what are you seeing? And
Right.
so let's go into the actions part. And let me say this one last thing. you know Someone recently mentioned, when we talk about we believe and we have faith, and oh, we want to travel internationally and what have you. Well, the question begs, do you have a passport? Do you have a passport?
Oh,
So if
wow.
someone said, I want to give you a trip and it's leaving next week, do you have a passport to
Oh,
accept that trip?
right.
So, just
Right.
going into that whole action aspect of it. So,
Mhm.
how do our actions truly impact our vibrations?
Oh, golly. Let me start with the one when I was sharing that story. Here was something that the Lord just reminded me of, basically. That person that owed me that money for all those years, I had already forgiven it. I had already let it go. My frequency was not attached to anger or upset or betrayal or anything. It wasn't anything like I forgot about it. Like it had been 17 years. I mean, and that was an action and a choice that I made. And I'm going to tell you, everybody who's listening now or in the future, all of you that are listening, myself included, to as a reminder, forgiveness is a huge action that you take. If you don't want to muddy your frequency and your waters, then you better freaking forgive, starting with forgiving yourself. Starting with forgiving yourself for dumb choices you've made, and that relationship that you blew it in, or the relationship that you made a poor choice to be in it with, or the poor business decision, or the time you yelled at your child because you just had an argument with their dad, or any of those things, or when you did eat the whole bag of Doritos and the row of Oreos. You know what I mean? And you had already
Yeah,
committed to yourself to be healthy. Have forgiveness. Now that's an action that is a continual action, right? And and it's important. That is one of the single most important ones as far as an action. But I would say submit to you and Joseph. When we were in Atlanta, Michelle, this last time together, and we had such a great time. And by the way, you were such a wonderful. I would do this that again with you. Such a beautiful and profound leader, and you led at a frequency of extraordinary excellence, and that was, I mean, seriously, yes, yes, and yes. And I sat down with Joe. We were all sitting down with Joseph visiting, and I said, okay, so one thing, just one thing, because Joseph McClendon III, if you know him, just Google him, neuroencoding.com, and he's phenomenal. But I wanted to know one thing that you could, that what could you tell me, Joseph, that's been a consistent hum that's created, basically kept him at a frequency, because he's a manifester like this, right? And this is what he said, and I know you've heard it before. He governs the air that he breathes, the thoughts that he thinks, the water that he drinks, the food that he eats, the moves that he makes, and the words that he speaks. And when you, right? And when you said, what are specific actions? Our words are creative containers of energy, and they are meant to create. So, like when God and our Savior were creating the world, right? And they spoke, let there be light, there was light. He believed, he pointed the remote at whatever star had to shine, or whatever had to, whatever switch had to happen, right? Let there be water, let there be land, all of those things. And they created. You know, you can say the most loving thing in the grumpiest way, and it's going to create grumpy, right?
Yes.
You know, and so it's interesting because that is an act, a specific action. Write down the things you're grateful for and speak them out loud. So the
Yes.
frequency of that goes out into the world, into, and brings back, magnetizes, because that frequency is like a magnet, magnetizes back to you specifically what you're speaking. And that, to me, forgiveness and that are like the biggest actions you can take, because they deal with your heart, right? They deal with this whole space, the 10, 11 inches right here. And then what you have from there is what shows up. And so even the air that you breathe, pay attention to, you know, to make sure you're breathing.
Yes.
Make sure you're
Yes.
calm. Make sure you're a bundle of peace. You want a peaceful life? Create a peaceful life here and breathe it in and
Yes.
out, right? Walk into a room and you govern the temperature in that room with your
Yes.
peace, with your joy, with your light. You bring it. You bring it. Don't, okay, I can't wait to go because I can just like be lazy and let them do it. Mm-mm. You do it. Take authority and own it. Own the fact that you're here on this earth. Who are you? Why are you here? And what are you going to do about it? That's like,
Ye-
right? Go ahead. I know you have stuff to share.
That is just so good. That is so good. And so I want to talk about the forgiveness piece really quick because that is significant. And I'm going to say this and then I'm going to give a quick exercise around that. But
Great.
years ago, I participated in an activity that I didn't feel good about. And it had me feeling so guilty. And I
Mm,
felt at that particular time all the wonderful things that I know that I am on earth to do. I was
oh,
feeling like that shame part that you talked about. I was feeling ashamed that I could even allow myself to even participate in that activity. I
right.
mean, it wasn't something that I would go to jail, nothing criminal, nothing like that. I don't even want to paint that kind of picture. No, 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 no. What I'm saying about it though is that I felt like I couldn't move my life forward for a
Right.
while because I was like, "Oh no, I did that." And so I actually got past that and I was able to the person that was involved. I was able to make amends, apologize, and all of that. And then it felt like that whole guilt and shame released, and
Sure.
I felt liberated and I could move my life forward. And so, what I am asking you to do, audience, is an exercise, a forgiveness exercise that's really, really helpful. So, What you want to do is just get a piece of paper and write down any negative attachments that you think you have, or areas that where you need to forgive yourself or you need to forgive other people. You want to write, just sit down first, make that list. Make that list, and then after you make that list, then you can go through and you can do a forgiveness prayer, something to where you're, just saying you're forgiving yourself and you forgive the other people or what have you. And also, you can write letters, forgiveness letters to yourself and to others. And what you do with those letters, at the end, you burn them. Don't send them, don't keep them. You burn them. You burn them. And what that does is it gets it out of your head.
Yep.
It gets you in a frequency of forgiveness. And once you burn it, you're saying that it's gone.
Right.
It's gone and never to return again. So I challenge you to do that forgiveness exercise, because forgiveness, again, it liberates you. When you
Yes.
have unforgiveness in your heart, it is you drinking the poison,
That's right.
hoping someone else is going to kill over. My folks, no, you're the one that will kill over from stress, a hardened heart, all of those things. So forgiveness is so important. So I'm so grateful that you brought that up. I'm just so grateful for that.
I love that because I've heard the, you drinking the poison and, hoping somebody else, whatever, but I never heard it that they kill over. And I love that. That's hilarious. I'm going to
Right,
borrow. But one of the
right.
things really, there's two things that you said, Michelle, that really stuck with me. One of them was, when you write the letter and all that, and if you don't, I shred it and burn the shreddings because it's like, let me just double up on that, baby. But what I thought about was when you say, whatever you're just doing, because I'm Hawaiian and Sicilian, not Hawaiian, Ho'oponopono is, a practice, right? And it literally is a prayer. And it's basically, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. I mean, it's really that. And when you do that and you envision whoever it is that you're sending that to, you can even do it as you're burning the letter. I'm sorry, Michelle. Please forgive me. Thank you so much. And I love you. Or I love you and thank you, whichever, way you want to do that. And that creates that. But here's what's cool. A lot of you, because what prevents people from forgiving yourself, or you do this brain candy of, oh my gosh, I did this had this act, and like, even if it's something like gossip, or right, because that's a frequency and you're saying things that are unkind about another person, and people cloak that gossip and, oh my gosh, Michelle, we need to pray for, for so and so because they, their husband's cheating and this and that, whatever, right? And
Yeah.
that's still gossip. That's like, and so even all those things, that feeling of guilt, that feeling of shame, that feeling, basically, this is what helps anyone that I've worked with, to be honest, and myself, get over those things. Is I reframe that feeling of, oh, thank you. It's feedback. Thank you. I don't feel good about that. Why? Because here's how frequency works. Because you're a speaker, I'm a speaker. So when we use handheld microphones, right? And there's a speaker and all the equipment a few feet away. If we walk towards the audience, but walk towards those speakers, right? We get that crazy nails on the chalkboard feedback. When we walk far enough away from it, all the frequencies work beautifully. It's the same thing pertains to this feedback. When you get the feedback of guilt, the feedback of shame, when you get that feedback, when you step far enough away from it, when you distance yourself from that, and what has to happen? You have to replace it with the right frequency of love, forgiveness, joy, gratitude, light, laughter, fun, your thing that you're so beautiful at, happiness, all of those pieces. Then it all lines up perfectly, and then you don't get that feedback. All you get is joy, right?
Yes. So good. So good. And I'm so glad that you brought that out, because that is a practical tool that you
Mhm.
could use so that you can rewrite that.
Right.
Also, you can actually go back and say, okay, how would I have handled that? What could I have done better? And what
Yes.
will I do better next time? And that is allowing you to rewire your brain as well, rewire your brain to be more resourceful. And so, I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you brought that up. And so let's talk about the relationship between intention and actions, and how can we align our actions with our desired outcomes. I know we've talked a lot about that. I just feel like there's something else that we can talk about in that area.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, seeing it is already done. You see it as already done. And what happens for me, and I'm my hallucination is obviously that it happens for you as well. When you see something that's already done, what I do is like you mentioned earlier too, is I reflect on, okay, well, how did we do that then, Lord? How do we do it? Because then your steps are given to you. Oh, well, this is how we did it. And then you just walk it out. Like it's almost like you're remembering. And when you think about it, remember, you're connecting those members back to each other and you're walking it out, right? So it's almost as though you're doing that and it's already been done. It's already been done. You're remembering how you did it. And now in this physical form, you're walking it back out. And I don't mean that in an airy fairy. I mean that like legit, like for real. You remember, oh, well, how did we do that? Oh, yeah. And what's cool when you do things that way, you mitigate the distance from point A to B because you collapse that in between, but you also eliminate potential problems and hassles because you will be given, like, you're going to know how to pull it off, right? Because all of that happens.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
it makes so much sense. It comes down to, and I want to, before I say what I'm getting ready to say, going back to the intention piece and talking about the counter intention. A lot of people don't understand that they can inject counter intentions. Again, I mentioned it earlier, with your thoughts and with your feelings. And so when you don't have stuff showing up, it's because something you did or said actually sent out the scramble, where you got the scrambling where it's like, okay, you done locked up some stuff. It's the best way I know how to describe
Yeah.
that. But again, when you get back on the right frequency, then you'll start seeing the stuff come to you. But I love everything that you just said. And with that in mind, because we are running out of time, I do want to mention my book, Elevate
Yes.
Your Life. Elevate
And
Your Be Successful for Life. My show is Elevate Your Life. Be Successful for Life is my book. It talks about elevate your thoughts, words, actions, and results. And everything that we're talking about today, you can find it in this book. And so I just wanted to make sure that I brought that out. And the book is available on my website at Success and Action Institute. And at the end of the show, we will have the link in the show notes as well. And so now, because we are running up against time, I want to know some more practical tips that a person can practice on a daily basis to elevate their life. Now, here is what's more. In terms of elevating your frequency, you've given us the forgiveness piece, you've given us the gratitude, really making sure that your thoughts are in alignment with your heart, that brain heart coherence, etc. So give us some more really quick.
okay. So immerse yourself in that frequency of what it is. So for instance, if you want to be, golly, well, I'll give you a real practical. If let's say for those of you who are single and you want, and I know somebody who did this and they manifested their mate in 2 weeks, and they've been together for 15 years happily. But if you want to manifest that, set an extra place setting at your table and see that person is already there. And don't think this is weird. Just try it out. Or, I know my friend and who did this. She also made sure that that side of the bed was nice. She cleaned out half of her closet. She's like, I'm done waiting. Right. And she just already, I mean, real practical things. If you want to become spectacular in a certain area, then immerse yourself in that world. Immerse yourself in that frequency. Hang out. You are who you hang out with, period. No matter what. And there was a time, and I know Eduardo said, what, 2 minutes? So I don't have time to go into it, but I moved into this place. There's 432 people in the whole town, and there was nobody to hang out with. They're all lumberjacks. And so what I did was is I watched all day long, literally my favorite pastors like Bill Winston, Jesse Duplantis. I watched Tony, Joseph, and within a year, I think I was at Tony Robbins UPW. Another year from that, I was a founding member of the Neuroencoding Institute and Brain Revolution, and on Joseph's stage in less than a year from that. So, or almost a year from that. So
It's
that's how
so
you do it.
good. So good. And so that's how you do it as well when you are facing adversity.
Yeah.
So we all go through ups and downs in life, and I like to practice saying, what's good about this? I know
Yes.
some things it's like you got to look for the good. How can this be good when
Yes.
everything around you is falling down? I want to say it gives you an opportunity to reflect, an opportunity to actually get into that gratitude state, because
Yes.
gratitude is the highest frequency, love and gratitude and joy to help you move your life forward,
Yeah.
even when it seems like the odds are against you. And so, Cindy, do you have anything else to offer us when it comes to how do you stay in a high vibration when you are having adversity in your life?
Said is look for the good. I call it treasure hunting. And I look for the treasures in that situation. But one really quick way to shift is change your physical. If you're mopey dopey and broke, busted, and disgusted and sad, stand up straight, shoulders back, get excited, get happy, put on your favorite music, jump around, dance around, get on your rebounder, hug somebody, love somebody. I know we have a minute left, so just really quick, you can find me on the Victory Network in Facebook. Come join it. Tell me that you saw me with Michelle, or you can find me just Cindy Gould on Facebook. Michelle, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, I enjoyed this show so much, and I hope that you did as well. We have come to the end of our show. That time went by so fast. This show can be heard on the Spanglish Radio Networks. Please check it out, SpanglishWorld.ca, for all the news programming. Spanglish World, you can watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And thank you, and we look forward to having you back here real soon.
Yes. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.